Vapustushadibhi hoshair yuktang yuktavagatatah atma namantarang suddhang vivicyatandulang yatha. Vapuhu, the form, tushadibhi, with husk, etc. Koshai, with sheaths, yuktang, covered, yuktya, by logical thinking, avaghatatata, by thrashing rice in a mortar, atmanang, the self, antarang, within, shuddhang, pure, vichityat, should separate, tandulang, rice, yatha, just as. By discrimination, one should separate the pure inmost self from the sheaths covering it, as one separates rice kernels from the husks by striking it in a mortar with a pestle.
Namaste. So, one should separate the sheaths from the Atman by discrimination, viveka. Therefore, one must know the definitions of the sheaths and of Atman and be able to separate them by discrimination. In other words, you have to be able to recognize the Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. You need to understand their definitions. So it's not my place here to go into those definitions because I've already done it several times on this channel. There are 5 videos on my channel that define the 5 koshas. So you should be able to find them, use them to understand exactly what the koshas are, and then separate them. What is left is only the self. And the process is neti. This Annamaya kosha is not myself. This Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, Anandamaya kosha are not myself. What am I? I am the witness of them. I am he who discriminates them by wisdom and discrimination. And the example is given like husking rice in a mortar and pestle. Well, most of you probably haven't had this experience. But when you get the rice grains, right, from the plant, they're covered by a shell, an outer husk, a hard shell of very, very strong plant tissue. And if you try to cook them and eat them like that, you won't be able to digest. So what people have done since time immemorial is put the rice into a mortar and pestle and smash it. And that way, the outside part comes off and is easily separated because it's fluffy and light. And the inside kernel is heavier. So it's put into a special basket called a threshing basket. And it's just, you just shake it back and forth and they automatically separate. It's one of those things that modern people don't know. Because that's for them, it's all done in some factory somewhere. But real people who live close to the land and to nature know this process, and they do it all the time because the rice keeps better with the shell on as a whole grain. So it's stored like that, and then it's taken out for cooking and serving as needed. And before cooking, it has to be milled. Nowadays, of course, there's machines that do all this. But in the old days, it had to be done by hand. And so this is a really good example because there is no machine that can separate the Kośas from Atman. You have to do it by hand. You have to do it yourself. And nobody else can do it for you. There's a nice verse in Viveka Chudamani, which says that just as eating a nice meal, if somebody else eats a nice meal, it doesn't satisfy you. You yourself have to dig in and eat to be satisfied. So the same is true here. There is no other way, no other way, no other way to separate these Kośas from the Atman except your discrimination. You have to do the work. And that's what sadhana is for. Sadhana points out, first, by niyama. Don't do this. Don't take intoxication. Don't take non-veg food. Don't take or indulge in illicit sex or gambling or speculation. And this last one is a killer because most people today are trained up in logical and philosophical speculation. So when they get a hold of something like the Vedas, they immediately begin to speculate on it. But this is gambling. It's gambling with your life. Because philosophical logic and speculation will never give perfect answers. There is always some doubt because logic can be wrong. Logic can be misused to prove that black is white, right is wrong, and day is night. So you can't really trust it. It's always a guess, a bet. But Vedic knowledge isn't like that. Vedic knowledge is received from the scriptures. It's not generated by some speculative process, some mental speculation. So it's perfect. So if the Vedic knowledge says you have to separate these Kośas from the Atma, then that's what you have to do, literally separate them. How do you do that? By viveka, by discrimination, by recognizing which one is which and separating them by an act of will. This is the real sadhana, and you have to do this. Or everything we're talking about here is just simply book learning, and that's not going to help you. Just like you can read in a book about all these delicious recipes, but unless you actually go in the kitchen and get your hands dirty, you're not going to be able to taste these wonderful dishes. So the Vedas are full of so many lovely, nice recipes for the mind. You have to take them up. You have to do them, not simply read about them. This is so important because we see so many people today simply reading and speculating about Vedic knowledge, and then they have the gall to declare that they are enlightened. Their consciousness hasn't changed at all. And they're just using this business of enlightenment or spiritual teaching to get followers, to get money, to get sense gratification, to gratify their ego, and so on. But this is not authorized or recommended in the Vedas themselves. So they are counting on your ignorance, that you won't go and check up and read the Vedas for yourself. So you get cheated. And we see this time and time again. People getting cheated by false gurus who make big, big claims, but actually are just non-different from them, just ordinary people with ordinary desires. But because they take shelter of the language of enlightenment and use the knowledge book learning, Brahma Vidya, as a platform, they're able to trick others and deceive them and give them the impression that just knowing about the Vedas, just knowing about Atman is enough to realize it. But that's not true. To the proportion that you do the work specified in the Vedas, that's the degree to which you get the result given in the Vedas, which is complete enlightenment, eternal life, and immeasurable bliss.
Tat Sat Om Shakti Om